We have this this exercise. We have a facility and we are processing parts. So we have two different types of parts that arrive. Type 1 parts arrive with inter-arrival times following a log normal distribution, a log mean of 11.5 hours, and a log standard deviation of 2 hours. The first arrival is at time 0. So let's open Arena, new file. If you have the ability to watch what I'm doing and follow along at the same time, like if you have two monitors or your screen is big enough that you can, do it side by side, go ahead and do that. Or else you can just watch what I'm doing. That's fine. We just have 12 minutes. So type 1 parts, let's create. These are type 1 parts. Type 1 parts arrive. And so this is type 1. And we're told that it's a log normal distribution. So we're going to build this expression by going to the build expression, right click, go to build expression. It's a random function, log normal. It has a mean of 11.5 and a standard deviation of 2 hours. The first arrival is at time 0. Type 2 parts arrive exponentially. So let's create a second. And this is an exponential distribution. So that's already given here with a mean of 15.1 hours. The first arrival is at time 0. Okay. Type 1 parts wait in a queue until an operator is free to process them. There's only one operator in the facility. So let's see, type 1 parts are processed. This is a little trick. If you highlight a module before you drag a new one in, it'll automatically connect them. So just a handy shortcut. Okay, so let's see. Process part 1, type 1. And this is going to be a seize delay release because we're using a resource. We're using our list of resources. So we have an operator. And we're, it's going to take one operator. And the process time is a triangular distribution with a minimum of 5, a mode of 6, and a maximum of 8 hours. Okay. Take 2 parts, arrive, process. Again, this is a seize delay release, so we're grabbing a set of resources. There's the delay while it's being worked on, and then the resources are free at the end. An example of something that might just be seize delay is you could have something where the resource gets used up during the process, right? So that would just be a seize delay because at the end of the process, that resource is no longer available. And then a delay release, if you think of like a job shop type situation where you have a row of machines, right? And you got the same guy working on the same thing. So this person takes the piece to the sander and then to the drill and then to, so the resource is seized at the start of that sequence, but then it goes through all of the, it goes through all of the different processes. So each of the processes will not be a seize delay release. It'll just be, the first one will be a seize delay, all of the processes in the middle will be a delay, and then the last one will be a delay release. So just to give you some examples of these different types of actions, and we're going to use the same operator. And this is triangular 378 hours. And then both parts are sent to an automatic machine sharing the same queue. So both of these are going to go to the same process. Squished these up. This is auto process machine, and this is triangular 4, 6, 8 hours. Oh, there we go. And after that, it leaves, so we can put a dispose. Simple enough. And then we want to run the simulation for 5,000 hours. And then if there are no errors, we want to run the simulation 10 times, 5,000 hours each. So we can just go ahead and hit OK. Let's see if we can run this. Should not be any problems. Oh, but 5,000 hours is going to be a long time. No. Okay, well, that might be just a function of a poorly designed example that takes too long to process these parts. So they're arriving faster than they leave. I think that's it. I think there's nothing wrong in the way I built this model. I just, these auto fonts are so tiny. Yeah, looks like that is the issue. Okay, but the model was built correctly, and I will have to adjust some of these times to make the process time shorter. But any questions on what I just did?
Yeah, can you explain again the seize, delay, receive, or whatever that step is, and when we would use something different than that?
So when you're defining a process, right, you can define what type of process this is, right? And we have these different actions. Now, this specifically relates to resources. So remember that Arena is keeping track of the number of resources in the spreadsheet. So when a resource is busy, this number will go down to 0. When the resource is free, this number will bump back up to 1. So what a seize, delay, release does is it a delay doesn't change your list of resources. A seize delay will take your list of resources and subtract 1, and that's it. Seize, delay, release will take your list of resources, subtract 1, then there's the process, and then it will release it. So it'll add 1, and then delay release is just adding 1. And then if you want to think of this in practical terms, what does this mean? I used a job shop example, but maybe you can think of like when you go to Subway and you go in, the person takes your order, and if it's not very busy, the same person will go to each of the stations, right? So at the first station, you are seizing that employee, and then you go to the bread station, then you go to the veggies, then you go to the meats, right? The cheese, like whatever the different stations are, but it's the same resource. So if you want to break down all the different actions, the components of the sandwich making process into its separate, like adding the cheese, adding this, adding that, because, like toasting it or whatever, right? You want to break those down into individual processes, but you also want to say that there's only going to be one person, right? So the first process in that line is going to be a seize delay, and then the rest of them are all going to be delays, and then the last one will be a delay release. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions? So I think that's about it for our lab time. If you're here for the 4:30 lab, um, stick around. If not, I will see you guys. I'll probably be in lecture tomorrow, just lurking in the background. So reminding you about homework groups. But if no other questions, see you guys later.